wish I had a freaking lighter so I could set the mood. And I don't have anything to drink. One moment. Since I'm back, I like to make candles. I used to make them a lot more frequently, maybe like 4 years ago, but people didn't buy them, so I just kind of stopped creating them. But I had a lot of fun coming up with ideas. This was from my Valentine's collection, and I'm just gonna light her up to set the mood. A little ASMR. Well, let's see how that it might get it might get blown out because the fan is on because it's kind of warm in here. But here we are. Welcome to episode 2. I was watching the playback of this a little bit, and I've noticed that I do this a lot because I'm processing mentally. It can be a little much, a little annoying. But actually, I was watching a podcast today this morning when I was getting ready for work. I was watching Theo Vaughn's podcast, and he had on a guy that works at AI, and he's like a self-made billionaire, and his way of speaking also included a lot of ands, and also Theo Vaughn. He says that a lot when he's speaking. So you know what? Fuck it. Here are these guys that are billionaires and millionaires and thousandaires, and they talk like me. So sorry, but yeah, whatever. It gave me the confidence to just speak and not really care about my vocabulary and how tiny it is. Anyways, welcome back to episode 2. I don't know how many times I've said that, but I just got back from work. I was on set for Stills, an HBO Stills. I don't know what it is. It's in the last episode I briefly touched on my my current experience on evolving and uh growing, 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 doing therapy and noticing different sides of me that I've never noticed before, and appreciating them, letting them stay, letting them be there, and just realizing who I am right now. And some of that stuff involved actually boundaries. I think boundaries are a good way of putting it. If you've never done therapy before, boundaries is like that number one thing that therapists try to teach their clients, their patients. Boundaries is definitely the number one thing that they try to teach us, and they try to help us to figure out how to set boundaries with people, because essentially when we let people cross our boundaries, it's when it affects us the most. And we definitely live in a society where boundaries are always crossed, and we always question if we look a certain way, are we being a bad person? Do I look this way? Am I being a bad friend? If I don't let them cross my boundary. And then eventually we just let people cross our boundaries. So that's definitely the one thing that I have, and I'm still learning how to really, really, you know, how to really respect my own boundaries and listen to them and realize that they're there. So that's one thing that happened, and in this like friendship breakup thing that that I keep going back to mentally, because when I reflect on my improvement and my change and my journey, that's like one of the biggest things that was so negative. And it wasn't always that way. I didn't always feel that way, but I began to feel that way at some point, right? And I acknowledged it finally when I actually started to get help with therapy, doing therapy. I started to pick up on ways to set my boundaries. And it hasn't been all easy. It's There's still questions that I have, and there's still uh whys, and I still question myself. Um, as I touched on briefly in the first episode, I question if I have any friends or if I am liked, and I go through this self doubt. But then I'm able to bring myself back down because I answer all of my questions, and I do have friends. I actually, this is just kind of trying to ease into this topic, but along the way of losing friends, I gained friends that were more appropriate to where I am mentally today, which was so wild to me because I was not expecting that whatsoever. I I'm such a small group friend. I'm such a person that doesn't really let anybody in, and just kind of happened like that. People that had been there, like coworkers and stuff. They had been there, and I never thought of them in this frame, and they suddenly became that. They suddenly were just there and real, and yeah, I looked at people through a different lens that I never saw them through, and it's really crazy how the that process took place. It was almost like, okay, the next domino is falling, the next domino, the next one, then it's very very much domino effect how it all happened, and I it was good. It was nice. It's like, oh man, like it is true what they say. When you close one door, many of them will open. The right ones do actually, and you know, doesn't mean that that door that you opened 10 years ago was never the right one. That was a situation that was intended for me in that moment, in that time, and now it's a different one, and that's all right. It's okay. People change, and we meet new people, and some people stay behind with the same thoughts, wants, and some people just kind of outgrow people, and it's, it's life, I guess. I was actually talking to my therapist. I had a therapy session today as well. And I had mentioned to her everything and how I'm doing this podcast, and she just kind of, did her therapy thing. The therapists do. They just kind of make you put everything in front of the table, and they just flip all the cards and put them in you know, simplified word structure. And she just amazes me how she continues to open my mind to things that are in front of me, and I just don't see them for what they are. Just another confirmation that I did the right thing for myself in that moment. And that's all we have to do. We just have to listen to ourselves and whatever we want. And we matter. And if something is not functioning, if something is not treating you well, if you're still confused about something, then that something shouldn't be there. And no questions asked. Just get rid of it. Chances are something better will come. So I went to New Orleans. In New Orleans, I before I went to New Orleans, I have actually been wanting to get a tarot reading, and I said to myself, I was kind of afraid of getting a tarot reading in New Orleans because it's so witchy and just so spiritual, and it was just more real than it is to get a freaking reading somewhere in Hollywood, I guess. And all the energies and stuff, and I was just kind of um, a little afraid of it. I told myself I need a sign. Give me a sign, and I'll get the reading. One day we were walking down a random street in I think it was right outside the French Quarter. I don't really remember. I think it was like a little outside the French Quarter. And I was coming to a crosswalk and I saw an electricity post with a sign that said, "This is your sign." It sounds kind of silly, but I was not looking for any signs. I was not like, "Where's my sign? Where's my sign?" That would be wild. But as soon as I saw that and read it, I said, "Okay, I gotta do this. I'm doing it." We went to a cemetery tour. Our cemetery tour guide he was awesome. I forgot his name, but he was amazing and he had a lot of information. I was able to ask him about voodoo shops in the French Quarter and what he thinks of them, and he directed me to Voodoo Authentica, which he said he thinks that's the one that people know what they're doing there. All the other shops are just for tourist attractions, and that's the one. And I said, okay, looked it up, went there, paid for my reading. 30 minutes later, I go back for my reading, and I actually posted a picture of my cards, my spread, and as I said, I was not expecting to receive anything from this trip to New Orleans, and but that reading was just so wild. It basically just confirmed to me that the idea of making this podcast, it's the time now. It's the time to go home and turn this camera on and talk and do this podcast, and that's why as soon as I came back, I started episode 1. So not only that, but we went to go get tattooed at the Holy Ghost Tattoo. And my tattoo artist was very guiding, very informative, and I picked up a lot from her. I was not expecting to, get schooled, and I enjoyed it. I came back with a lot of knowledge of tattooing, and rambling again. I am rambling again. What I'm trying to say is that I came back from New Orleans with a lot of a lot. Like I as soon as I hit the ground, I started running. I just feel like it was such a positive trip. Didn't even think of it possibly ending up that way. I like I said, I thought I was just gonna go to New Orleans to go have a drink and enjoy the food, but I brought back a lot of knowledge and a lot of energy and a lot of courage and a lot of what's the frickin' word? I always forget this fucking word. I found the word. I came back with a lot of motivation to do the things. I mean, I was already doing the things that I wanted to, but I came back with a lot of motivation because I got confirmation that I was doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing and I should just fucking do them, and here I am. Just that trip just kind of comes into like a whole full circle because I allowed to receive on that trip. There was some room for me to receive, because it wasn't being hoarded by all the negativity, all of the, yeah, all the fucking negative shit that I was just thinking in my head and all the shit that I was confused and the people that I was confused about and all of this bullshit that, you know, someone was making me feel and I I dropped that shit. I got on that flight. I went to New Orleans. I came back with a lot of positive shit and here I am and it feels fucking amazing and it's just a full circle. Things happen for a reason. They really do. And I just would like to encourage anyone if you are going through something similar that I did and are questioning leaving a situation that is obviously not benefiting you anymore and it's more so just making you question yourself. Um, and you're not doing so great in the things that you're doing and the choices that you're making, it could potentially be just negative that you're hoarding onto, whether it's feelings or questions or people or, you know, it doesn't matter who it is, if it's family or if it's a friend, a boyfriend, sometimes people really are fucking dead weight. Like, people really can be a dead weight and that's fucking sad. It's fucking sad. There's a sad aspect to it because you feel ashamed to feel that way about someone that has been there for such a long time and that has made you happy once, that you've shared certain experiences with that were great and I think that's why I held on to that friendship for such a long time because I was like, no, that's my friend, that's been my friend for such a long time and no, they don't mean bad, they're just going through a rut. But it's like, when do you stop making excuses for people that are showing you their true colors? But I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful to be working. I'm so thankful for the people that are here and I'm very thankful for the people that stayed, you know, uh, because I have other friends that have been here and have seen me through all of my changes and all my evolution and they don't judge me. They're still there, you know? Um, and that makes me feel happy. It makes me feel happy. It makes me feel content. You know, there really are people that are for you, and they stay, and it doesn't matter how long you've known them for. And there are people that will appreciate the things that someone else wants to judge you upon. Yeah, we're never alone. And I hope I didn't ramble too much, but I think I did. I feel like I rambled a lot this episode, but I hope that you guys are enjoying it. And if it's 7 in the morning, you're getting ready and you're watching this, don't forget to look in the mirror and remind yourself that you're that bitch. Thank you for watching, and I hope you guys stay tuned for the third episode. Um, if there's anything that you guys would like me to maybe touch on more, or any suggestions of what third episode could potentially be about, then you can drop it down below in the comment section. Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for episode 3. Anyways, I'll see you guys maybe next week.